Oh, hi everyone, and just want to welcome you to our podcast today. I've got a very special guest, as you can see here. This is the infamous and Kris Murray, and I'm very grateful to Kris because she was one of the first people I met when I first came to the US, and she's been a real help and a real blessing to us and our business in the sense of helping us grow. So, welcome, Kris, and thank you for joining us
Thank you,
today.
Martin. I'm so grateful and excited to be here.
So today we're talking about growing your childcare business. And Kris, just to get us started, we often hear about people not knowing where to start. So what would be a good place, do you think, for someone thinking about starting up a childcare business
Yes.
to start?
So the first step that we always recommend is to really get in touch with what you want to bring to your market, your community, your town that is going to be different and unique versus what exists today. And also to line that up with your vision of what is your why? What are the things that you want to bring to children and parents that are special to you, that excite you and get you passionate about your business? Because you have to have the passion and you have to have that laid out so you understand what you're bringing your market that is unique and special, which is your brand, right? And so that's number one. And then number two is to work on your business plan, your financing, looking at licensing regulations, looking for real estate. Are you going to lease or buy? So all of those kinds of logistical nuts and bolts to put together in your framework for your first school or center. And we actually teach that. We've taught it in coaching, and we're taking what we've taught in coaching and putting it into a course step by step to help people and hold their hand along the way, kind of a business in a box type course. But yeah, so we've helped dozens of folks launch their first childcare center. It's fun.
So my marketing manager's just interrupted me and said, and I'm being a bit remiss here because I actually haven't properly introduced you, other than the fact that you were one of the people that introduced to the US market. But just for all you listeners out there, for the millions of people who are going to be listening to this podcast, which I'm sure they will, is that Kris is the president and founded the Childcare Success Company back in 2008 when I was 20. No, ha, ha, ha. I was a bit older than that. For those that haven't heard about you, you tell us a bit more about the story about what led you to found Childcare Success.
We've got a frozen moment. Oh, there we are. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know what's going on there. Yeah.
We're back again. So tell us what led you to found Childcare Success.
Yeah, so I was a mom in a preschool with my two little kids, and it was during the recession, as you mentioned, 2008. And I had come to my professional career as a marketer and a small business analyst and strategist in all the different types of industries that I've worked. And I could see with my marketing and my sales hat on that the enrollment processes in the childcare centers that my kids were in, and there were many different settings in that, the first 5 years of being a mom, I had them in four different kinds of programs. And I could see in all of them that there was a need for skill development in attracting and retaining parents. And then that rolled into attracting and retaining staff, because also in one of the preschool environments I was in, they had a really high teacher turnover in the toddler room, especially with my daughter. And that was impacting my level of service. And so those things came to the forefront. And so I started just creating systems and coaching and training, doing webinars, and just getting started in a small way in my local market in Ohio. And then it grew organically from there. So it's pretty exciting. Now we're a mid-7-figure company with hundreds of clients and thousands of members in our academy, and a very large business conference, the largest business conference for early learning. So I'm very grateful for the journey, and it's been a lot of fun.
I think, just reflecting on what you just said, and even like in my business, I think the cool thing about entrepreneurship is that you're creating something from nothing, aren't you? And it's really satisfying that when you create something and then people start using it and they think, oh, this is fantastic, it's wonderful. It's kind of soul destroying sometimes when people start using your stuff and then they say, well, this is rubbish, but then you can learn from that as well. One of the things I remember when we started talking about it is that you actually were working with your brother, weren't you, as well, and which had some relevance to what we do at one place. But tell me a bit about that, about, your experience working for the manufacturing
Yes.
company.
So my father and my brother went in business together in about 97. And around 2003, 6 years in, they bought an existing old school manufacturing company in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, which manufactured bolts, as in bolts for cars and bolts and nuts, but more like special, semi-special type large bolts and things for, huge tractors and diesel trucks and all sorts of things. And so it wasn't a very sexy business, but it was a thing where when I moved back to Ohio, when my first child was a baby, he was 1 year old when we landed back in Ohio, to be near family with little ones. And my dad was like, why don't you come and work at the bolt company, and you can help, and you can be the director of marketing, and you can also help us with, we're trying to get ISO 9001 certified, which is the quality certification for the standard for manufacturing. And so I said, okay. And so I worked there part-time for 6 years until I founded Childcare Success. And so I learned a lot about a world that I had no idea, which was the world of manufacturing, and how, and I worked mostly in service businesses, Martin, and software and, resort management and all of these different things. And so I got to see the world of manufacturing and then layer that on top of the service businesses. And so it was cool to also be in a products, making things and understanding about defects and the 5 whys and root cause analysis and process improvement and all of those things that you learn about in that environment.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, because sometimes, as you said, people might look at that and say, well, being a bolt factory is not that sexy. But having said that, if you don't have the proper bolts holding your machine together and it doesn't work, it's pretty significant, right? So I don't think we should underplay some of the experiences. Well, firstly, underplay some of these industries, which appear pretty mundane, but they're not actually, because they keep the country. I mean,
imagine if you were making bolts for aircraft, how important it is that you get the bolt specifications right with high quality, so the bolts don't fail and the airplane blows apart.
And the plane doesn't fall out of the sky, right?
Yeah. Right. So it's very important.
I think also the other thing I would take out what you just said is, we shouldn't underestimate the experience we have from other different organizations and even from a non-profit perspective, right? I remember, I'm on sort of like a governance board for my church, right? And I've actually learned a lot from just doing that non-profit sort of stuff around governance and organizational sort of stuff. So don't underestimate the sort of stuff that you do in your other parts of life, but how that may add to your experience of what you're trying to do when you're starting your own business. Okay. So in respect of the quality and the refinement sort of stuff that you did in the bolt factory, how does that apply to childcare, in your center? How would you
So every business, whether it's a product or service business, has a set of best practices, has processes, systems, right, that you must follow if you want to achieve the highest level of service. And so whether you're crafting a product like a bolt or you're doing a service like childcare, all the employees need to understand the system. They need to be trained on the system to deliver the top level of service or product so that you can be winning against your competition. You can retain customers, right? So it's not only about getting customers in the door, whether it's through tours and, phone screen, all the things we teach on the front end, but then you have to keep your customers, whether again, is it somebody that's using bolts or is it somebody that has their child with you, is they look at the service you're providing and they say, what's the value? The value for price paid is the thing that keeps the customer more than anything. So if the parent perceives a very high level of value and part of the relationship, part of the childcare experience is the relationship you have with that parent, that they trust you, you celebrate them, you celebrate their birthdays and anniversaries, you have a connection, there's a personal family connection, as well as the child is learning, the child is thriving, the child is well cared for. If there's an issue, the issue is handled smoothly and adeptly, like some kind of if the child is injured on site, what have you. And so all of those things come to play with processes, systems, and documentation And that's where one place Childcare comes in, is that you guys help with that. So you're helping keep the quality of the experience and the training of the staff as high as you can, I think, through your software.
Yeah. And one of my favorite sayings, and there's like collective rolling of eyes in my company every time I say this, because I say it so often, is that, perfect is the enemy of good, and what that means, as you know, is that we're all about incremental changes, because the trouble with trying to get 100% perfection is that you never get 100% perfection. You don't even get 90%, and it's the whole idea of incrementally improving things. If you can improve things 1% every day, then eventually you get to 100%. Actually, you get to more than 100%, but let's not worry about the maths there.
But let me make a point to that. So what we do teach also in coaching is we talk a lot about 80-20. And so I've talked about how, yes, you want to incrementally drive for improvement and change, but really you should, as a leader or an owner of your school, you should look for what are the 20% of things that I can improve that are going to yield 80% of the result. And so if you have, a certain area in your campus where a lot of incidents occur on the playground, you can fix that one thing, and you can then affect, 10 out of 12 incidents will then reduce because you fix that one thing. So that is more powerful, I think, even, is thinking about the 80-20 rule in your business and in your life, and just trying to get at least 80% good. That's where I tell my people is like, don't strive for 100% good, because that last 20%, there's not a lot of payoff in that. But get to 80% good, and then go to the next thing, and just keep implementing to completion. And before you know it, it'll be a whole, the business will look much better than it did before.
Yeah, and I think what you say really resonates with us, because one of the things that we do is give visibility around incidents and the sort of trends around incidents, because it really amazes me. Even we sometimes meet these large childcare organizations, and they have no visibility of what's happening. They're just using paper or spreadsheets, and it's kind of really dated information. So just being able to actually see what's happening, then you can make change, because if you can't see what's happening, then how the heck do you make any change? Right?
Yeah, the visibility, like I always say, when I'm looking to help leaders figure out what to change, a lot of times they're fixing the wrong thing, but the data, the reporting, the tracking is what gives you the clarity to see in the very simple numbers, now I understand what really needs to be changed. It gives you that clarity. So I'm a huge proponent of just tracking. So, and for example, today I was talking about somebody on my team with a leader, and we were talking about how much time it's taking her on a certain task. And I was like, well, let's help her be more time effective by documenting how many times she touches that one project. Every single month she has to deliver the same project over and over again. And I'm like, I wonder how many hours it actually takes her. I feel like it should take 10 focused hours of work. Maybe it's taking her 20 hours because she keeps getting distracted and pulled. So just by documenting that then you can get clarity into what's really going on. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. Now, sales and marketing is a big job. And how does a childcare owner or GM get growing and still manage business as usual?
So I am a huge fan of outsourcing. I'm a huge fan of doing what you love, and then not doing the things that either you love or you're terrible at. So if you hate something, you procrastinate on it, or it's just not your natural gift, or not even close to your natural gift, then you should look to outsource it. And so one of the kind of phrases around that is look to automate, delegate, or eliminate. And so, so in sales and marketing with a childcare center, it's actually not that many things you need to do well. You need to have a system where you can set up to communicate with leads, and then convert leads. So you have to, I recommend having a CRM, and then having all of your leads come into your CRM, and you can automate that. One of the things I said was automate, right? So you can automate your text messages and your outbound marketing and your relationship building and getting them to come in for the tour and getting them to call. all that stuff can be automated. And then you can just focus on getting leads in, which means a good website and state of the art website. Of course, we recommend Grow Your Center, soft plug for them. And so that's another delegate to the pros who know how to make a beautiful early learning website and do advertising on Facebook and Instagram that are going to get your phone to ring. So just those things, just that will get you to close to 80% in your sales and marketing efforts. So that's how I would recommend getting started. Yes, you're going to need a little bit of budget for it, but it's going to pay off hugely, because when you have a full school, you're going to be making, high 6 or 7 figures. And so the little amount that you spent on your website and these other things is going to pay for it dozens of times, if not more. So.
Yeah, and I think that's so often, some of the things that we tend to forget about the return on investment, isn't it? I'm an accountant, as you know, you can tell by my sparkling personality. And, and part of the problems accountants get stereotyped is, they just look at, the cost. But what we've got to think about is actually, well, say I spend some money on automating, that could actually generate 2x, 3x, 4 times X of revenue. So it's a no-brainer that you do that. But often, in some ways, a bit of a leap of faith, isn't it? That you've got to spend this money. And so you need a bit of capital to start off with. You still need a bit of working capital.
Yes,
to get going,
absolutely.
Right? And I think, and probably what you see a lot is that sometimes a lot of these organizations are too undercapitalized,
Well, and I think that they put all of their time and energy into the curriculum and the classroom experience and setting up their beautiful school. And it's kind of like the old saying, I'm just going to hang my shingle out and then wait for clients to come. Well, that you can't do that in today's day. You cannot, so I started my business in 2008, really focusing on lead gen and having a website that would grab people's attention and pull them in, and an opt-in and building a list and then doing webinars to the list and then launching products. And so the front end of the business has to be a focus for business owners. That's where the money flows, So you gotta be focused on your marketing for sure.
One of my old bosses who ran a software company said, like, sales and marketing is like the bow of the ship, right? And if you don't have sales and marketing, then everything else flows from the bow of the ship, which is the sales.
Yes, absolutely.
So even the best laid plans, sometimes things can go wrong, right? So what are the common traps that people can avoid or navigate around?
In regard to what part of the...
Just some of the sort of potholes that you sometimes may fall into when you're starting your own childcare business. Like
well, I think one we already kind of talked about, which is not setting up your sales funnel, your enrollment funnel from the beginning, and making sure that your eye is focused on enrollment. So that's number one, is that you put all your money and your investment into the actual school, and then you forget the fact that you have to market to get families to know about you. I think not enough focus on leaders and leadership. I think having good basics of a school culture will help, having your core values developed, having leaders that have been getting some training on how to have hard conversations, understanding the workforce in early learning today. The workforce has changed a lot since 10 years ago. So, really focusing and diving in on good leadership, making sure you're reaching out across the classrooms and, making connections with all your teachers every day, a couple times a day. So they're feeling loved on and they're feeling supported, and, so all of that. And then I think what you guys do, I think a pothole is not documenting and systemizing your business to processes that can be followed by no matter whom comes in. So if you have a new employee, you onboard and train them to your best practices of how a day should be run. What constitutes it? What does a good day look like in this school? Okay. And then you lay out all your processes from the minute you open the door till the end. So one place really helps is the best, product to help do that. So those would be some of the key things, sales and marketing, staffing, operations, leadership, and automating of tasks. Those are all really important things.
Yeah, and I suppose both of us are sort of, I think I'm older than you, but I think what's really good nowadays, when I think about my career and when I first sort of started, is that there's a lot more emphasis on culture, and not in sort of fluffy way, but just generally being decent people within the
Yes.
organization now. And I think that's really good, isn't it? Because like I just sort of, you just in some ways you kind of cringe back when, in the early 80s, late
Yeah.
80s, I should say, when I started work, that yeah, it was quite a different world sort of thing.
Yeah. I started in the late 80s too, Martin. So I think we're the same age.
Oh, well, there you go. This is not, what was 25?
Exactly.
So I don't know why,
I mean, come
that's
on.
right. But it is really good now, I think, because there were a lot of things going on there, which is, in those times was considered acceptable, but
Yes.
wasn't acceptable.
I mean, when I think about some of the political, the climate that I was working in and the people and the communication habits and the leadership, the lack of leadership and some of the, the game playing and the favoritism and a lot of that was very common in corporate life, especially back then. And I think we've had a much increased visibility to what does good culture mean and what does good leadership mean, and then holding each other accountable to make sure that we're treating our people. It's a work family. So we call each other Childcare Success. We have 24 employees and we refer to each other all the time as our work family. And that's how I really feel. I truly love my employees. I really, really love them. And so I think that that's acceptable now, but back in the day, like if you said that to some high driving CEO, he'd be like, "Oh, you can't love your employees. What are you talking about?" But.
Well, exactly. And, I think, life's too short. As I say to people, I really want people to enjoy working in my company and helping them flourish, because life's too short. If you don't like working here, that's fine. Go find something that you want to work with and work with, because, you're spending so much time with these people. And like you said, work family is a really good way of putting it. Now, we're nearly done. Looking to the future for early education and childcare, what do you think is the big issue at the moment that early education is seeing? And I think I know what the answer is, but I will let you proceed. Yeah.
Well, there are several issues that the industry is facing, but right now, we're still in a staffing crisis, and people's perception about what work means and what they're willing to give up in their life post-pandemic has been a complete sea change. So I think that we need to continue to look for ways to make our schools a really fun environment and to continue telling potential employees that they really do have a chance to make a difference with young babies and with children, which not a lot of careers have. And I think talking about it as a career, I do think that a lot of money is, so I'm also on an advocacy group, Childcare Champions, where we're trying to, at the national legislative level in the States, make an impact to get more money to basically pay childcare professionals like K through 12 teachers are paid, and also with benefits. And so if we can do that, then a lot of the problems that we face will be solved. But we have to do that with help, because to keep childcare affordable for families, it's going to be impossible to pay a wage, a K through teacher's wage to a childcare professional. So I think that is probably one of the key things that I would look to have some progress in the next decade, if not sooner, is we continue to professionalize the career and make it a career, and give more respect to the career, because it's basically been seen as babysitting. In fact, I know of a couple senators we just heard about that senators, even today, I don't want to name names, were questioning the value of childcare. Like, why can't moms just stay home and watch their own kids? And I was like, it's 2023. Like, seriously? A U.S. senator said that recently.
Yeah.
So they don't see our profession as a profession. And so I think, just continuing to drive that forward in all of the decision makers' minds, and then continuing to help leaders be the best they can be and help their people be the best they can be, and just support and give, So I think that's what needs to happen in order for us to continue to be a stable industry. The industry is facing real challenges, and the stability of it is in question.
I think, the pandemic really highlighted the need for great childcare and early education, isn't it? Because if people can't get people to help them with their children, they can't go back to work, and that affects the economy. But even more important, and I've heard, the first 5 years in the development of the child's brain is that it's such a critical time. And when I say to my team is that, you're not only building software, you're actually making a difference, like you are, in children's lives, because you're enablers to help our customers provide a better environment and help children
Yes.
to flourish. And I think we're really kind of fortunate and quite blessed that we're in this type of organization. One of the things which I found really quite encouraging, refreshing of this industry, because I've been in different industries and no doubt you have as well, is that people are very nice and genuinely nice and very nurturing as well. And I think it's because generally the industry, they actually want to make a difference. They're not there. I mean, obviously the money, we need to make a return on investment. That's important, but they actually really want to make a difference in children's lives. So I think all of us have a part to play in this ecosystem. And
yes, I agree with you. Anyway, and I feel very grateful to have as clients these amazing childcare owners, these business owners and leaders, because they are loving. They are fun and easy to work with. In general, they're lovely people. They're heart-centered people. And so the biggest challenge in working with this beautiful group of people is that they get into a mindset funk. They put so much, they're people pleasers, and they put so much out of energy to others. But then when something happens, they don't fill their own cup as much as they fill other people's cups. And so,
right. So they don't look after themselves as well.
So we have to empower them. That's what we're here for, is we give them confidence in coaching, and we say, hey, you can be an empathetic leader, but you also need to work on your confidence and have structure and have systems and processes and accountability, lovingly accountability. And so you got to do that too. You can't just be all people pleasing, heart centered, and then not have any of the other part, because then you're just going to get slammed by life. And that's what happens to several of them. I'm thinking in particular in my coaching programs, like worked with them over and over and over again to help them with it. And it starts all right in here in their mindset. And so we're giving them the tools that they need to be stronger. And so, I'm very grateful to have, And
I think, like you said, one of the things that you're doing really well is that, if you can coach these owners to basically turn their centers around and then maybe start a second center or a third center, it's actually really life-changing. It's life-changing for them, it's life-changing for their family, for their children. And I suppose, us being both entrepreneurs, that's the entrepreneurial spirit, right? Because you're actually trying to create wealth, but also not only for themselves, but for their next generation and for the community as well. So that's a really good thing.
Yeah, well, thank you. I love having this role and being partners with One Place and working with you and Lynn, and it's it's been very fulfilling and rewarding. And hopefully, before we're done, we'll continue to see positive impacts from our work. And I'm holding faith that happens. So I'm excited about the future. I'm very bullish about the future and where we're headed. So it's good.
Fantastic. Now, so finally, I think we have a special treat today. You've got a special offer to our listeners. What would you like to share?
Sure.
What that is?
So we have an opportunity to basically give guidance and coaching to anyone that's listening in a free strategy session or strategy call. And really, it's kind of a way for you to discover little nuances that you might not realize in your business, what we call little hinges that swing big doors. And so we'll basically ask you a series of questions to get to know you on the call. And one of our coaches will help guide you to some things that you can do in your business to get immediate results and improvement in your business. And so that opportunity is we're giving for free to listeners of this podcast. And you can claim that by just going to childcaresuccess.com, which is our main website. And up in the right-hand corner, you'll see a button that says free strategy call, claim my free strategy call. And you just click on that. And we'll meet with you for 45 minutes and help you and get to know you and love on you and guide you. And you'll get value out of it, regardless of whether you want to come in and coach with us or not. It's all good. So
Great, fantastic.
Childcaresuccess.com.
Top right. Take that back from right now. Right, fantastic. Hey, well, thank you for joining us again today, Kris. I mean, it's Tuesday morning here, Monday afternoon there, right? It's a weird sort of time thing. And it's great to have you on. And as I said, it's been a real treat just having Kris because, as I mentioned to you before, Kris is one of the leading lights and one of the leading voices in the US market. And so thank you so much. And just your expertise around childcare and also around some of those, your reflections upon the staffing issues. That's great. So, and for our listeners, thank you again for joining our Excellence in Childcare podcast. So thank you again, Kris.
Thank you so much, Martin. It was a pleasure, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.